Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. Welcome to episode 40 of the Snowflake Viewpoint. Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. I hope you all had a lovely weekend. And awesome, that's just jumped up on my phone there. I'll get rid of that. Hello. Guys, I've got a nice little poll there in the chat if you guys want to have a look at that just briefly. It is obviously the first topic we're going to be discussing today. Who should be on a one-way ticket to Rwanda if it takes off and they don't come back? You have the choice of Piers Morgan, Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson, Suella Braverman. Poll will end at the end of the stream. Yes, you can only pick one, guys. I'm going to make you really think hard about this. You can only pick one. Yeah. Lefty Boater is here. Good evening, Lefty Boater. Good to see you. Ruth was here nice and early. Good to see you, Ruth. Hope you're doing well. Jow is here also in the chat with the spanner. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Duke Vengeance is also here as well. Good to see you, Duke. Hope you're doing well. Right, guys. We have a lot to get into. It's going to be a long one today. Got some interesting stuff to go through. Oh, why is this not ready? Okay. So obviously the main story of the it's just so stupid. So Rishi Sunak accused of a new low after betting £1,000 on a Rwanda deportation flight. The PM slammed over crude and deprived bet during Piers Morgan interview and reported to officials over the potential breach of ministerial rules. So guys, let's just for those who haven't seen the clip, I'm going to play it here for you guys. Just so you can just hear just how ridiculous this is.
I'll bet you £1,000 to a refugee charity you don't get anybody on those planes before the election. Will you take that bet?
Well, I want to get the people on the planes, right? Of course I want to get the people on the planes.
£1,000.
Right, I want to get the people on the planes. I'm working incredibly hard to get the people on the planes.
Do you think that should be the priority when at the same time the ONS just predicted we could hit 73 million people who in this country, like coming in, not on boats, but coming in the normal immigration system by 2036.
So hang on,
most people go, well, that seems massively more problematic to me.
People talk to me a lot about illegal migration, as I'm sure they talk to you about you. It's important that we grip it, and Rwanda is one part of an overall plan that is working. And
it's working, apparently. According to him, guys, it's working. I don't think we need to hear any more of him, guys. Ruth says, I chose the fourth one. Oh, you chose Suella Braverman, did you? Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I wonder to see if anyone's going to vote for Piers Morgan in that poll. But, yeah, it's just what really, really infuriates me, guys, is the fact that what really, and I do use the word angry, like, you know, well, first of all, he's not allowed to be placing bets anyway because he's the Prime Minister. So apparently it's a potential breach of ministerial rules. But they'll probably find a way to let him slide of some sort. So that's the first thing here. And we'll read into that. Second thing is that these are people's lives we're talking about here. These are people's lives. And here we are. We have a very questionable television presenter. And then we have a Prime Minister who generally does not give a damn about other people, having a bet on TV over whether or not they can deport whether or not the Conservative government can deport people to Rwanda. I mean, it's just so pathetic. It really is, and this is not the main issue that's taking place in the country right now. I'm sorry, immigration is not the #1 priority on the vast majority of people's lists. It is a priority on people's lists, but the #1 thing is the economy, the cost of living crisis, our national healthcare service. Just a couple there to tell you that what are the main priorities that people have right now. Those are the main priorities. Not. And this £1,000 bet is just pathetic and stupid. It really, really is. Rishi Sunak was accused of taking politics to a new low after betting £1,000 on being able to deport asylum seekers to Rwanda before the next general election. The crude and deprived came as the PM used an interview with Piers Morgan to double down on his support for the asylum policy, insisting he will get the flights off the ground this year. During the chat, he accepted bet offered by the Talk TV broadcaster that asylum seekers will be sent on a one-way flight to Kigali before voters hit the polls, with an election expected this autumn. Labour, the Liberal Democrats and the SNP all pounced on his handshake bet with the TV host, with the Scottish National Party reporting Mr Sunak has a potential breach over the ministerial code. The Green MP Caroline Lucas told The Independent that Mr Sunak had plunged to a new low, and she said, "Words fail me that the Prime Minister and Piers Morgan can be so callous about the awful Rwanda policy that they place a bet on it." Yeah. These are people's lives they're gambling over, yet Sunak thinks nothing of casually agreeing to a £1,000 bet. He's supposed to be the head of government, not a punter in a casino, she added. This is a new low for our politics. Absolutely. Labour said the bet was deeply distasteful and showing Mr Sunak is totally out of touch with working people. The Shadow Immigration Minister Stephen Kinnock adding that it was the least prime ministerial thing that I've seen in 9 years in Parliament. Was this the least prime ministerial thing we've seen in Parliament? That's a tough one, considering though some of the prime ministers we've had last few years. You know, it's a bit. I don't know about that one. Mr Kinnock said, "Our Prime Minister splashing his cash around is like monopoly money, betting on a policy that he has lost control over. The cost of Rwanda policy may now end up being 400 million. Yeah, I think we could put this money elsewhere, you know. And he keeps saying, like, and he was saying in that interview as well, like, we don't just have the Rwanda thing. We have other things going on. And I'm like what? Like what? Can you give us some examples? Can you put some examples out there? No, of course you're not going to put any examples out there. Good evening, number 3. Good to see you, buddy. And Labour front bench Jonathan Ashworth said, "Not a lot of people facing rising mortgages, bills and food prices are casually dropping £1,000 bets. It just shows that Rishi Sunak is totally out of touch with working people." Yeah. And the SNP Westminster leader Stevens said, "The lives of the most vulnerable people on the planet reduced to a crude bet. It is just a game to these people." Yeah, it is. It's just a crude bet to them. The SNP reported Mr Sunak to his own advisers on the ministerial interest and the Cabinet Secretary over what the party claimed was a potential breach of the ministerial code. In a letter to Sir Lauren Magnus and Simon Case, SNP Cabinet Office spokesperson Christine Blackman said the bet falls below high standards and should be expected of those in public life and may breach ministerial code rules on avoiding conflicts with private interests. In the interview, Mr Morgan told Mr Sunak, "I bet you £1,000 to a refugee charity. If you don't get anybody on these planes before the election, will you take that bet?" The only caveat here is he said he will do it to a refugee charity. But that is beside the point in any way, shape or form. Good evening, Alistair Keir. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Mr Sunak shook hands with the TV host to seal the deal and stressed that he worked incredibly hard to get those people on the plane. See, now he's going to go, look, he's already under pressure to get this done. Now he's going to be pushing it even more, which is what's even more distasteful. He's going to be wanting to prove people, I can do this, I can get these people on that plane. He will breach any laws to get this done before the general election now. That's what I think he's going to do. He's going to go back into number 10. He's going to be telling everyone, like, we are getting this done one way or another, and we're not going to let anybody stop us. That's going to be the premise of him, to show that he's serious about this. You know, just to show that he might be a bit macho, and then he finds out he's not. He has also said Rwanda is part of an overall plan to bring down the number of migrants crossing the English Channel. That is working. Like I said, what else are you doing? The bet comes as Mr Sunak's Plan B Rwanda bill developed after the original was ruled unlawful by the Supreme Court, making its way through the Lords. Even if the bill passes both houses with no amendments, question marks remain over whether flights will be able to take off for Rwanda by the election. It is likely deportations will still face legal challenges as individual migrants are prepared to be removed from Britain. And that's the thing. How are you going to get past legal challenges? Because they will be waiting in the rings. How are you going to get past that? You can't. You can't get past that. That's the other problem he has as well. The government has also agreed a legally binding treaty with Kigali in December, arguing that it addresses concerns raised by the Supreme Court about the possibility of asylum seekers deported to Rwanda being transferred to a country where they could be at risk. Campaign group Reunite Families UK, who support families affected by the spouse vice threshold, reacted to the clip saying they were literally gambling over desperate people. And Steve Smith of the Care for Cowards campaign said it was disgraceful for a PM with extremely wealth to reduce the Rwanda issue to a £1,000 bet. We expect gravitas and careful consideration in our leaders, not immorality and a lack of concern for others, said the chief executive. The Liberal Democrats said the £1,000 bet may represent chump change for Mr Sunak, but the rest of the country cannot throw money around so easily. Yeah, that's another thing as well. The guy's full of cash. Home Affairs spokesperson Alistair Chimmel said, instead of placing a trashy bet on the Rwandan scheme, the Prime Minister should be putting his money where his mouth is, on the soaring NHS backlog. Treating vulnerable people as pawns in the games tells you everything you need to know about Rishi Sunak and his Tory government. If the Prime Minister believes in gambling, then perhaps he should throw his dice and call a general election. Now, that's a very nice way of putting it, but we know he's not going to gamble that. The PM's official spokesperson. What are they going to say here? I think what the Prime Minister is saying, and obviously is clear coming through from that interview, is that the Prime Minister is absolutely confident that we will get flights off the ground. and for the bet, the official pointed to the timetable previously set up by Mr Sunak, which is by the spring. The spokesperson backed off questions on whether Sunak is setting a good example when the government is taking a hard line on gambling. I think he's focused on doing what is needed to deliver on the priorities for the British people, he said. I don't know if I should feel sorry for the spokesperson or not, but to actually have to respond to that, yeah. It's ridiculous, guys. Like, I mean, there was a brilliant tweet from Mike Gazaway from Byline Times, and he basically said, if you put Piers Morgan and Rishi Sunak on a flight to Rwanda, I'll give them both £1,000 each, which got quite a lot of traction on Twitter. The other thing as well is we covered a story, I think it was last week, guys, didn't we, on that we are literally taking in Rwandan refugees from Rwanda to the UK, and we're still trying to pursue this ridiculous deal. I mean, it's just I don't get it, guys. I just don't get it. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Just going to scroll up a little bit. All the Rwandan cash could have been used to put some officials and custom posts on the borders to avoid the hell coming over the borders this year, says Jow. I don't know if putting some money towards that would have made a difference in terms of stopping the boats. But it's a less humane way of deporting people, I suppose. Everyone's saying hello to it. Charity is a failure of government responsibility, says Duke. Yep, that is indeed. It is indeed. Approving the Rwanda plan and watch the TCA fly away, or hasn't Sunak listening to the wind coming from Brussels? They are done playing, says Jow. Yeah, good not to say. Yeah. Debt increases profit, diminishing tax increases benefits, and decreasing. They play with UK taxpayers' money. I'd be livid if I was a Brit. Says Jow. Oh, you were referring to the border checks, not immigrant. Oh, all right. I thought you were referring to like putting border posts or something on the beaches or something, Jow. I don't think we will do that anyway. So to be fair, guys, while you're here, make sure you vote on the who would you give a one-way ticket to Rwanda if it takes off and they can't come back. You have the choice of Piers Morgan, Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson, Suella Braverman. You can only pick one, guys. You can only pick one. Right. Let's move away from this, guys. So let's talk a little bit about the United Ireland prospects and that. So British and Irish government play down Sinn Féin's call for United Ireland. Rishi Sunak urges Stormont executives to focus on the bread and butter issues in Northern Ireland. So before obviously I read into this, I just want to say it's really good that the Stormont is back up and running, and finally things can start getting done for the people of Northern Ireland. I think it's just the first and foremost, that's the most important thing. It's just been too long since they've had a government, and having it all run by Westminster has been pathetic. The DUP have not helped themselves, and they certainly not helped their union cause by sitting on the sidelines, throwing tantrums non-stop. And there's still some of them throwing tantrums now, but I am glad that the Stormont is back up and running. But this talk about a United Ireland, guys, I don't think it's going away, and it is growing. And I think, considering the one thing that's definitely exacerbated it, which really has pushed the emphasis more about talking to a united Ireland, is Brexit. Brexit is one of the things that's kind of pushed it. I think it's helped the talk of a united Ireland. And I will say this is that if the people want it, if the people want to vote on it, they should have that opportunity to do so. But as of right now, the main focus should not be the talk of a united Ireland. I will say that. As of right now, I think the main focus should be like get the country, Northern Ireland, back up and running. Get things done, for the people, because that should be the main priority right now. That's got to be the priority, and I generally hope that's what they focus on, and not this talk about united Ireland. At least not right away. Let's just get the country up and running, and then maybe start having those conversations after. I think it should be. So the British and Irish governments have played down Sinn Féin's call for Irish unity and said Northern Ireland's new devolved government can restore stability and faith in the region. Rishi Sunak said Northern Ireland's place in the UK was protected and urged the Stormont executive, led by Michelle O'Neill, the first nationalist First Minister, to focus on the bread and butter issues and not redrawing the border. It is not constitutional change, it is delivering on day-to-day things that matter to people, he said on Monday after meeting executive ministers, party leaders and Irish Taoiseach Lord Vaskar at Stormont. The Prime Minister said the resumption of power sharing after a 2-year hiatus makes it an historic day. Northern Ireland's politicians are back in charge, making decisions on behalf of their people, which is exactly how it should be, he said. Today isn't the end, it is the beginning of real work starts now. Vankelaar echoed the sentiments and declined to be drawn on whether he expected a united Ireland in his lifetime, which he has said before that is not the question to answer today. He told the press conference the priority for any new executive in any government in any country has to be the day-to-day concerns for the people. The Downing Street spokesperson said both leaders agreed the stable, effective and successful Northern Ireland immensely benefited the British-Irish relations, and he looked forward to remaining in close contact. Nevertheless, tensions between both sides remain apparent. Sunak reiterated regret that Dublin had taken legal action against the UK policy on Troubles-related crimes. Vago said the UK government's deal that coaxed the DUP back to Stormont by tweaking to post-Brexit trading arrangement had a negative language about an all-Ireland economy. There was no joint press conference raising eyebrows on both sides of the Irish Sea. There's no question. There's a little bit of tension, obviously, with between Ireland and the Irish government and the UK government, especially over that on the Troubles crimes thing. That I've commented on it, guys, and I think it's stupid the UK government pushing on that when exonerating people for crimes that have been committed. I think it should be something that should be agreed from both governments and not one, and it should not be something. The British government said that they've spoken to them and spoken to the Irish government, and they haven't on the issue. I think so. This Sunak and the Conservatives are not helping the situation at all. No, I don't think anyone should be exonerated unless both sides agree to it. That's my position on that. And Peter Hain, who was Northern Ireland Secretary from 2005 to 2007, said he was astonished the two leaders did not appear together, adding it was crucial for the heads of government to have been seen to having a close working relationship. Lord Hain told The Guardian that ever since 2010, since the Tories came to power, though it was better under David Cameron, they have seen their roles as a boost to London, against Brussels, and if necessary against Dublin. Sunak seems to have caught a bit of the disease as well. You can't actually make Northern Ireland's Good Friday architectural work unless Dublin and London are joined at the hip, as they were for 10 years under Tony Blair, said Hian, who was Northern Ireland's Secretary under a Labour government when the St Andrews Agreement was drawn up, which built on the Good Friday Agreement. Former Taoiseach Bern Aheen told the BBC that he would have liked to have seen a joint press conference, adding it was important for the two governments to work together. Sunak's 7th visit to Belfast as Prime Minister let him showcase a political win and offered respite from the bruising battles at Westminster. It capped a whirlwind week in Northern Ireland in which the DUP ended a boycott of power sharing, paving the agreed formation of an executive based on the May 2022 Assembly election, in which Sinn Féin emerged as the biggest party, a milestone for Irish nationalism. Deborah Hart, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a nice weekend as well. After meeting, Sunak, Sinn Féin's leader, alluded to the parties forward for a referendum on a united Ireland within 10 years. Yeah, in 10 years' time, they can certainly start having that conversation. Mary Lou McDonald said changes all around and must be managed. Last week, she said the Irish unity was within touching distance. Under the Good Friday Agreement, the Secretary of State should call for a referendum if a majority in Northern Ireland appears to favour unification. Chris Heaton-Harris said the conditions were definitely not met. Like I've said, not right now, but yes, the conversation should be had when things are a lot more stable and sorted out. Then make those conversations, but not as of right now. They shouldn't be making that conversation as of right now. The four parties comprise the executive of Sinn Féin, the DUP, Alliance and Ultra Unionist Party, representing a union front of lobbying for funding from London, in addition to a £3.3 billion package that is already on the table. The executive spoke with one voice on funding, said Emma Little-Pennigley, the DUP's Deputy First Minister. We need to work together, the executive and the government, to deliver long-term physical stability, she said. The Sinn Féin Minister, Conor Murphy, and Cameron Arkabed, I can't say those names, I'm sorry, respectively occupy the economy and finances portfolio, putting them centre stage in negotiations with the Treasury, which wants Northern Ireland to change its spending habits and raise more revenue. Hendon Harris said the £3.3 billion package was ample for the time being, and that politics was about making choices, he said. I believe a new set of ministers are completely capable of running the public finances perfectly well with the fair and generous funding package we've given them. Yeah. As I've said at the start of this one, I'm really happy that that this has been addressed, and obviously, you know, the talk of a United Ireland, there needs to be that conversation. I'm not going to say they should have the referendum unless unless I would say at least a 60% of the people in Northern Ireland want that vote, want at least a referendum on it. There needs to be, the polls need to indicate that people want this conversation. It should not be dictated by politicians. It should be the case of, if the people want a referendum on the Irish reunification, then have that conversation. Then, if the vast majority, wants it, at least 60%. Before even putting down that referendum. Don't do it around the 50-50 mark. Don't make the same mistake that England and UK made with Brexit. You know, be realistic about this. If you want to go down that route, convince the majority of the public that of the benefits of the United Ireland. Then, if the vast majority of the public want it, then have the referendum on it, and then we'll see what happens there. But as for right now, there's a lot of issues that needs to be resolved, and let's hope both sides just work together and just to resolve those issues. And I'm just glad that Westminster are no longer handling it over there, because I don't think it's been beneficial at all to the people of Northern Ireland. And one person, he's still not smiling, guys. Ollie is still angry. I think what might help him, if I reach 1,000 subscribers, that might help as well. If that might help. So if you're not a subscriber, subscribing really would help. The orb is here in all its glory, of course, and the lava lamp. All hail the lava lamp as well. So they are all here, guys. I know you guys wanted to see them. Let me just have a quick look before we go to the next one, guys. Let me see the poll. We've had 14 votes so far. Suella Braverman is leading on who we should send a one-way ticket to Rwanda at 50%, Rishi Sunak at 36%, Piers Morgan on 7%, Boris Johnson on 7%. So someone wants Piers Morgan on that flight. Someone wants Piers Morgan on that flight. So thank you guys for voting so far. If you haven't voted, please vote. Make your voice heard. Speaking of someone's voice we don't want to hear, Donald Trump. This is an exclusive from iNews, guys. A quarter of Britons want Donald Trump to return to the White House. Ah, God. Most UK voters prefer Joe Biden to win a second term, but fewer think that he is addressing global issues better than 4 years ago. Now, that bit about the global issues, I do agree, especially with what's going on in Gaza and the Middle East. Yeah, he's handling that pretty poorly, if I'm honest. But oh man, I think the fact that even a quarter of Britons want Donald... Oh, excuse me. That's that reflux coming. Apologies. But I think just the fact that still a quarter of Britons still want Donald Trump to return to the White House, they have not been paying attention to what this man is saying. And he's not aware this guy's been fighting court battles. You know, he's got like an 83... He just lost an $83 million case as well. Quarter. Sorry, I'm getting it mixed up. 3/4. Quarter. Lefty Barrow correcting me there. 91 Leeds, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Should have all had them choice on your. Yeah. No. The premise is you have to pick one. You can't pick all of them. That's the trick with that vote. Got 91 Leeds. But yeah, so a quarter of UK voters would prefer to see Donald Trump win the US presidency this year rather than Joe Biden, and that a poll for the eyes reveal. What have I said about polls, guys? Take polls with a pinch of salt. So it is only one poll. Obviously, it's not the be-alls and end-all. It's like normal polls. So this is not the premise on what the majority of people in Britain at the moment. It's just based off what the people have said within the poll that was issued. So I need to put that caveat in there because some people in my comments section go absolutely bonkers when I do videos regarding polls. People jump on the bandwagon. So yeah, always take them with a pinch of salt, guys. A victory for the controversial former US president would have been seen more preferable to Britain than a second term for President Biden, according to 24% of the public, the BMG research survey shows. While most voters, 45%, believe President Biden is staying in office represents a better prospect for the UK, it is striking that 1 in 4 want to see President Trump back in the White House. Some 20% of Labour voters and 31% of Conservative voters would prefer a Trump victory. Support for President Biden is the highest among Labour voters, who back him to win a second term by 59% compared to 40% by Tory voters. But nearly a third of all voters say they do not know who would represent the better prospects for the UK interests. Well, the problem is Americans are stuck to choose between two old white men, and that's a failure on the both party side. Instead of building up another candidate, they both just decided to stick with fossils, respectively. Leading defense and diplomatic figures have warned that a victory for Mr. Trump in November would destabilize efforts to contain conflicts in Gaza and Ukraine. Well, we know Ukraine were going to suffer if Trump gets in. We know that. The poll suggests some UK voters are starting to think that he may be better in the White House if tensions continue to escalate. Oh. What will Trump do with regards to the Gaza situation if he wins? What would he do with that? I mean, he already, I don't see what is he going to do that's going to end it. Is he simply just going to tell the UN to back off and let them kill the rest of all the Palestinians within Gaza Strip, allegedly? Is that what he's going to say? What's he going to do that's going to change, that's going to really make a difference? Because he's not going to tell Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel to stand down. He's not going to do that. I can't see Trump doing that. I really can't. The British public is more likely to think that a President Trump victory would have a negative rather than a positive impact on global issues, including the UK's relationship with the US, and tend to think President Biden would have a marginalised positive impact. Yeah, I do think relationships between us and the US will sour a bit if Trump wins. I definitely believe that. However, Mr. Trump's rating on the question has improved slightly since he left office in 2021, particularly on the issue of climate change and world peace, although he's still in negative territory. And the British public are much less positive about President Biden's impact on global issues than they were 4 years ago. On the issue of climate change, Mr. Trump scores 30% in terms of impact, but this figure has improved by 10% points since 2020. President Biden has a net impact rating of 9% on climate change, although this has fallen by 80% over the same period. When it comes to world peace and level of conflict, Mr. Trump has a 28% net impact rating. World peace, Donald Trump, that doesn't really go together. But this has also improved by 10% points since 2020. President Biden's net rating on world peace is 0%, which has fallen by 23 points over a 4-year period, suggesting the British public are increasingly likely to believe he's not done enough to reduce global conflict. Well, yeah, no, I think that's pretty clear. If Mr. Trump does return to the White House, the UK public are likely to think that neither Rishi Sunak nor Keir Starmer would be best to manage the US-UK relationship, 31%, although they are marginally more likely to say that Keir Starmer would be better suited than Sunak, 24% to 22%. I do think Keir Starmer would handle relationships a lot better than Rishi Sunak. I think Rishi Sunak would just fall over quite easily. I don't think Sunak, Keir Starmer would bend over as much, if I'm honest. I'm just going out on a limb based on the personalities of both of them, Sunak and Keir Starmer. I'm not saying Keir wouldn't bow to US, but I think he would less likely bow than Sunak will. The research director Robert Stewart says, with Biden trailing Trump in many head-to-head polls in the US, the current president might wish the sub-could American electorate for the British. Britons prefer Biden by a wide margin, although a quarter of the British public would favour a return of Trump. However, comparing data with some of the same questions they were asked 4 years ago, the enthusiasm for Biden in the UK has somewhat waned since their last electoral showdown in 2020. Yeah, that's called misinformation, and that's the power of misinformation, and the likes of GB News, Talk TV, and certain radio shows out there misguiding Britons about things. That might be the reason. Britons still tend to believe Biden would be more positive impact on climate change. I do agree on that. I do think he is doing some good things, some good stuff when it comes to climate change. I do agree on that. World change and the UK-US relations than Trump, but the margin of those who share this optimism has noticeably shrunk, with Trump gaining more ground on some of these fronts. It goes without saying that the British voter won't have any bearings on the outcome of the US election. However, the parallels in public sentiment across the Atlantic are clear. Polls of Americans indicate the waning enthusiasm for the current president, with lower trust on issues like peace and conflict. With Trump seen as stronger on these issues, our polls hint that, while Biden is still preferred, voters outside the US might be increasingly reaching similar conclusions. It's interesting, that's for sure. I think, it would be interesting if somebody literally just goes around and just asks people what they think of Joe Biden, what they think of President Trump, and kind of just put people on the spot. That would be a very good, an interesting one to say the least, to see how people generally would react to that. Just before I come to your comments on that, guys, we're going to take a little break for everything that's going on, guys. A bit of Matt Green, guys. Hope you guys enjoy this little funny video I've got for you. Is this how every political interview should sound?
So, Minister, this is clearly an ongoing situation, but what are your thoughts? Well, obviously I don't know the full details. Oh, really? Okay, let's just leave it there then. What? You just said you don't know the full details. Yes? So perhaps we should wait until you do know the full details and then we can get your response. I'm very happy to give you my response right now, without knowing the full details. Of course. In fact, it's better that way. What do you mean? Well, it's much easier for me to bend my answer towards what I already wanted to talk about, isn't it? Okay. Oh, did you see that front page report in The Times today, suggesting that some of your colleagues are plotting against the Prime Minister? Well, I haven't actually read that report, but okay, well, what about... You didn't let me finish. You said you hadn't read the report. No, but I've heard reports of the report. What? I know the kind of thing it's saying, but you haven't read it. No. Why not? You knew you were doing an interview today. Why didn't you read the front pages? I mean, obviously I did read the report. I'm just saying I didn't so I can look loyal and then dismiss it all as tittle-tattle. Tittle-tattle? It's what we call gossip when we pretend we're not interested in it. But you are interested in it. Of course, I've barely been off WhatsApp all day. Your colleague was caught on camera earlier today saying something pretty controversial. I didn't see that. Okay, let's try something else. Oh, did you see the new economic forecasts saying that the UK is doing better than expected? Of course I did. It's a testament to this government's hard work. And what if I told you I just made those new economic forecasts up? I'd say that Labour are trying to take us back to square one, and that's a bad thing. Yes, apparently. Thank you, Minister. Next up, we'll speak to two pundits from opposite ends of the political spectrum who'll both claim that what's happening right now perfectly supports their worldview, and also coincidentally backs up everything they wrote in their new book.
It's true! Oh, the satire from Matt Green. Oh my god, it's just, yeah, it's just spits true, guys. It really, really does. Oh, Jesus. Guys, while you're here, make sure you check out and support Matt Green and the work that he does. If you're not a subscriber to his channel, make sure you do, like, share, and all that stuff, guys. I'll just point out as well for you guys here as well, After the live stream's over, I'm going to be on the Discord. So if you guys want to come on the Discord and have a chat with me after the show, guys, you're more than welcome to do so. Jao has just plugged the link for the Discord. I will plug it again at the end of the stream, guys. So if you want to do that, it would be greatly appreciated. He's also plugged if you want to buy me a coffee or join me on Patreon for exclusive content. Another video dropped today. They're dropping every day on Patreon, and exclusive content on there. By the way, that's free, by the way, the Patreon political video. So you guys can check that out. The poll there, obviously, it's 44% for Suella Braverman, 31% for Rishi Sunak, 19% for Boris Johnson, poor Piers Morgan on 6%. Only 6% of people think Piers Morgan should be on that one-way ticket. Yeah, they still want Suella Braverman to be on that dream flight to Rwanda. Mind you, though, it was her dream flight, so it's only fitting that it should be her, really, to be fair, that should go on that flight, to be fair. Mark Wilkie is here. Good to see you, buddy. Didn't receive notification. Turn off your notification and turn it back on. That's my... If a video drops and you don't get a notification, it means the notifications are bugged out. So you need to turn it off and turn it back on. That goes for anyone who ever has that with any YouTube channel. Turn it off and turn it back on, your notification. That should fix it, guys. Ben Shaw is here as well. Good to see you, Ben Shaw. I'm just going to scroll up, see what you guys were saying about Donald Trump. We are a nation of idiots. Present company, except obvious. This is a lefty voter. Number 3 says, so many people are utterly delusional. It's depressing and hard work to get through them. Jao says, so a quarter of Britons have personal or psychological issues, medical issues. Apparently. Stop being angry, that's my job, says Duke. United Ireland should not be the issue right now. Normalised things is essential to prepare for the future and inevitable unification of the Irish, says Jao. Yep, I think that's the best way to put it. Just scroll up and say Sunak arranged with NATO. May is the time. There has been obviously May election looks like it, but I'm not saying it's definite the election, but it's definitely not going to rule it out. How can the DUP show their face after basically refusing to do their job for years? Yeah, mind you, they should be relinquishing all that pay they've got during those 2 years. The DUP should be refunding all that money that they've earned over the last 2 years as ministers for sitting on their backsides. They should be refunding it. They really, really should. Cluster is what the DUP should be prepared for. Yeah. If you put Priti Patel, I would have voted for her because she started it. Yeah, I should have put Priti Patel over Piers Morgan. I think, yeah, we can agree to that. USA trade deal with Trump, you can kiss the NHS bye-bye, says Alistair Keir. Yeah, that really will go. Mind you, though, the NHS is already on its way out, to be fair now anyway. Trump had one positive effect on Europe. We were rearming and building new weapons factories and not depending on anyone, especially the US. And that's exactly what the EU should do. They have to realise that they can't rely on the United States anymore, and they have to be ready. They have to build their own arms now. I think they need to seriously invest in that. I mean, I know people don't want to hear more about defences and budgets and all that kind of stuff, but I think the EU really needs to tell nations to start seriously looking at that. Have you seen the American economy? They would be mad to swap Biden for Trump. Yeah, their economy is doing pretty well, all things considered. Biden's done some great stuff there. He's not perfect, that's for sure, but yeah. Everyone's saying that low the poll, can't they all win the magic trick? No, you can only pick one. You can only pick one in that poll. Only one quarter, says David McGuinness. Good to see you, David. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to be covering one of the stories that David brought up on the Two Davies show earlier today, guys. And the link for the Two Davies channel is in the description if you're not a subscriber to them, guys. So definitely check out their stuff as well. They were, I think it was only one Davie today, as well. Right, speaking of military, what a nice segue, guys. What a nice segue to go from seeing how we were talking about the military. This one's from the BBC. It's a day old, but I think we'll talk a little bit about it. So the UK Armed Forces is not ready for high-intensity war, MPs warn. You don't say. Considering like I know we've got laser weapons, and there was a story from Associated Press actually about one of our British aircraft carriers that actually broke down, apparently as well because of the propeller system as well. And then we obviously had that story a while back where two ships collided with each other as well. Talk about fantastic British naval navigation there as well. And our armed forces has greatly reduced as well over the last several years as well. So yeah, I don't think we're ready for a high intensive war, if I'm honest. Yeah, I mean the only thing that's been happening really from British Army's perspective is the bombings in Yemen, which aren't really making any difference to the Houthis. And the other problem is that where is the incentive for people to sign up to join the British Army? See, this is the thing that I don't know if I've covered it in a video on here or on Patreon, but I really talked passionately about like how when I was younger, I got offered the chance not once but twice by my dad if I wanted to join the army, and you just wonder if I had taken up one of those two opportunities, where would I be now? And I just think the pay is not it's not the I don't think it's the British Army's fault, that in terms of recruitment. I don't think it's them. I just think the government is not providing enough incentives for people to join the army. You need to give people a reason to join. You need to give people an incentive to want to join the army. You can't, or maybe perhaps they need to do some kind of new promotion campaign to encourage people to join the army. There's lots of ways you can do it, but you've got to give people a reason to join. You've got to make it interesting for people, because right now there's no interest whatsoever in anybody wanting to join the army. But yeah, the UK's armed forces will not be ready for a highly intensive war unless shortages in personnel equipment are rapidly addressed, MPs have warned. The Commons Defence Committee said personnel were leaving faster than they could be recruited, and that the offer to them had been improved. A vicious cycle needs to be broken to allow the UK to face increasingly challenging threats, it added. Increasingly, recruitment and improving retention was a priority, the MOD had said. Last month, General Sir Patrick Saunders, the head of the army and outgoing chief of the army, called for the country to train a volunteer citizens army ready to fight a land war, warning that an increase in reservist numbers alone would not be enough. So I think correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I'm pretty sure from my age up to the age of 40, 45 to be a part of this. So essentially they're saying they want me to go and do a bit of training and whatnot. I don't know if somebody was to say to me, would I stand up and fight for my country? I would say it depends how much I get paid. I think is the first question. I'm not kidding. I would actually ask that because I'm not patriot enough to stand up and fight, as Penny Mordaunt would say. But even she's not going to stand up and fight. I don't have patriotism. But yeah, if maybe if they threw a lot of money at me, maybe I would consider joining the army. But I definitely don't have that patriotism as people like to of Britain, that's for sure, or England specifically, as some people like to think of it. He highlighted the threat from Russia following its invasion of Ukraine and pointed to steps being taken by other European nations to put the population on a war footing. He called for more people to be done to equip and modernise the armed service. Sir Patrick had previously argued that the need for a larger army whose professional ranks now number around 73,000, compared with those around 100,000 in 2010. The Cross-Party Defence Committee report, Ready for War, found that while it was a matter of national pride and whether the armed forces were asked to act, they found a way of overstretched and negative impact high-intensity warfighting readiness due to the sheer pace of operations and other commitments. The MPs said they were increasingly concerned about a crisis in the recruitment and the retention of both regular personnel and reservists, with operational demands making recovery and training harder to achieve. As a result, the committee said it is unsurprising that more people are leaving the force than joining them. While acknowledging the problem and planning to address it, the government was not moving at the necessary pace to do so, it had. So what is it? Why are people leaving more than joining it? So there's obviously something going on within the army that's discouraging people from staying on. I also think it's really important if they want to do it is also to go to a lot of schools to promote it as well. Not force people to sign up, but maybe just talk to parents, talk to kids about being in the army, have some experienced people there. That's another way you can talk about incentivizing people to go to potentially join the army as well. There's lots of ways to do it. You got to give people a reason to it. I know this government. We know about the government. I'm just talking about in terms of if you want to drive a recruitment drive to get people to join the army. Conscription is not the answer. You're just going to upset a lot of people. While acknowledging the problem, the Ministry of Defence post, a Ministry of Defence spokesperson said, increasing recruitment and improving retention across the services is our top priority. Our armed forces are always ready to protect and defend the UK, and we continue to meet all operational commitments. Another area of concern highlighted was that the 1.95 billion allocated for boosting ammunition stockpiles in last year's budget might have been used to meet existing shortfalls in resources, rather than to replenish and increase capabilities. 50 billion is being spent on defence this year, an MOD spokesperson said, adding that spending on defensive equipment has increased to 288 billion over the next decade. The MOD aims to raise spending defence into 2.5% of GDP. The MPs urged the MOD to reconsider and produce a breakdown of the allocation of money promised in the autumn 2022 and spring 2023 budgets. The committee has also called for improvements in procurement processes to increase the UK's industrial capacity for production of munitions, both the context of the Ukraine conflict and a future war. This should include retaining retired equipment even halfway viable for generation, they said. Former Defence Procurement Minister Sir Jeremy Quinn, MP, who chairs the committee, described the armed services as a world-class fighting force whose personnel demonstrated immense bravery and flexibility, responding to the range of crises and threats worldwide without hesitation, never wavering in their commitments to protecting our nation. But he said a steady, continuous drip in operations and ongoing commitments, together with a drop in retention and a period of low recruitment, which needed to be tackled head-on, was undermining the country's military readiness. Sir Jeremy said the government must start making difficult choices, either invest fully in our military or recognise that proper prioritisation of warfighting will mean less availability than other tasks. Speaking just days before Sir Patrick, Defence Secretary Graham Sharps told the BBC the UK needs to be prepared for a more dangerous world. I think he said like it was a pre-war, I think is what he was saying as well, didn't he? He warned of a growing risk of posing by countries including China, Russia, Iran and North Korea, as well as terrorist groups. However, when asked when the government would meet its targets of spending 2.5% of national output on defence, he said he could not give an exact date, basically meaning, well, let Labour sort it out, basically, is what he's saying there, guys. Yeah, interesting to say the least. In terms, like I said about, like, obviously, like, I know the thing, like, nobody wants any country to go to war. Nobody wants any soldiers to fight. Nobody wants anybody to die, and nobody wants any of that. I think we can all agree we don't want that. However, I also think that if you're serious about having an army and being there ready to protect our nation, you've got to incentivize people to do it. I definitely don't like that we spend. So there is a lot of money that we pay into the military, which is, I think sometimes we do pay too much into it. That money could go somewhere else. But yes, I know we haven't been at war for a long time, but I still think we still should have a decent amount of our GDP going towards defence. I don't think it should be 2.5%. I think it should stay as it is right now, especially with the situation that we're in. I don't think we should be putting more in. I'm just going to scroll up in the chat to see what you guys... Fight for what? This dirt pile? Yeah, this dirt pile that we live on, Duke. Yeah, this dirt pile. Got leaflets and letter through my door in the last few weeks. May election on the card in my option. Labour or Tory? Labour or Tory? I think you should go for the third option. The third option there. Who will sign up for war? Exactly, Deborah Hart. Who's going to sign up for it? You need to, you got to give people a reason. Positive thing here in Portugal is that almost all of us can use a weapon, and we have professional army for many years now. Jow, question: Is it a conscription that people join the army in Portugal? Do you have to do time in the army? Can you let me know in Portugal? IDF is sending noisy drones over Gaza last night just to annoy people and disturb their sleep. For number 3. Yeah, I've seen that story. No, it's horrible what's happening there at the moment. As the Keir says, propeller shaft bent, bearing the other ship, and wiring problems. Example forward is backwards. Yeah. Jow says, war is the way of living of my ancestors. I would have no fear of joining them in Wallahara, but there is still a lot of stuff to do around here. Rishi now doing a dirty trick to con students to join boot camps. Once they do that, they will be the first to be called up, says Deborah. I hope not. I hope it's a case of not doing it against their will, but actually like wanting to actually join the army. We are fighting for democracy and decency right now, says number 3. Yeah. They can go whistle, as my granddad used to say, says Ben Shaw. Folks, this is all gaslighting. They are shifting attention from actual problems. Okay. Yeah, we know that. If you think any government will save you, think again. I'm not expecting this government especially to save us. I don't know about the Labour one. I'm not holding my breath on that as well. War is when the old and bitter, fick the young and stupid into killing each other. Yeah. Dave McGuinness says, who is putting the lives on the line for minimum wage? I served in the 80s, early 90s. I was put off by the now corporate wars. Let's look at the attack on Yemen. No, I totally understand that, David. I totally understand that. No, you're all right. There's no... The one phrase I always think about with war is that there is no such thing as victory. There is no such thing as a victory in wars. There is no such thing as victory except loss of life. Who wins? No one wins. People lose loved ones. People die. Homes are destroyed. You know, it's all suffering. It's all suffering. I've seen plenty of war films, and while I may not have never have had to do what you've done, David, and I commend you for serving. I really do. My friend, yeah, the damage that it can have on people, I honestly can't imagine. Physically and psychologically, yeah. Wars can happen anytime and no one is ever ready. I'd rather have a Viking vision of it. When Odin drops a stone in the cauldron, it's my time to go, and that's it. I worry more about living, says Jow. Protect trade, not people, question mark. Yeah, that whole situation is just crap right now. It really is crap. All wars have always been fought one way or another for wealth and trade. Few wars are fought for principles, whatever excuse we use, says Jow. Send the rich people first, says Duke. Yeah, well, the problem is they're not actually going to fight. They're just going to try and throw money at their on the battlefield, and they're just going to end up probably getting shot. So I don't think that. I mean, there was that clip, didn't I, showed last Wednesday, guys, on the live stream. You know, prime example of Boris Johnson on the front line. Lefty Boris says, most of my family have served in the army, have seen and felt firsthand how it messes up people so bad, with no support afterwards. Every single one of them have served have PTSD and other health conditions. Right there. Thank you, Lefty Boris, for pointing that out. Right there. People hear stories like that. Why on earth would anyone want to go near the army if that's how people end up turning out after serving? Right there. No support afterwards. That's diabolical. You're not even going to support people after they've served, after they're done. Let's scroll back up again. The army should arrest the government and the Met Police. Oh, I've said what I've said about the Met Police on a number of occasions. And Russia is breaking, folks. I wouldn't go that far yet. We keep hearing that. Don't, until Russia actually breaks. Don't count them out, Jow. Really don't, because they're still there. I would feel safer living in Russia, said Deborah Hart. Well, you definitely would have protection. That's one thing you definitely feel. Edwin Starr says 91 leads. We need protecting from the people here, i.e. the Tories are more for some in the country than their army, says Ben Shaw. We have never stopped being at war, says Dave McGuinness. No, there has never been a time on the planet where we have not been at war. Never been a time. And you're right, because we are supplying weapons arms as well. Which is infuriating as well. Too old and got a bad leg, says Mark. I have a chronic depression. I'm not sure trusting me with a gun is a good idea. Don't say that, Duke. You're scaring me, mate. Conscription is used to fill in ranks. As for the army itself, like any other career, they are increasingly open this year. It is not a bad career, says Jal. One of my cousins has been in the army in special ops for many years. Bad pay in the beginning, better pay later on, says Jal. Okay, so it's a conscription It's a conscription for you guys. Interesting. But obviously, you guys would be treated far better than here. Well, I would say treated. I don't know what the treatment is like after, if they do serve, but I don't know. Well, to be fair, if I'm going out on a limb here and say Portugal have not been in many conflicts, so they've probably not had the physical and psychological effects that the British Armed Forces have had non-stop. Vets who are homeless. Ukraine was broken last March. The highest GDP in Britain is arms and pharmacies. They go hand in hand. Yeah. My parents are in County and my niece is in Birmingham land, Ruth says to Mark. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's move on from this, guys. This topic. So this one is also from the BBC. Labour pledged to full equal pay rights for ethnic minorities. Labour pledged to extend the full equals pay for ethnic minority workers and disabled people if it wins power. Yes, totally in agreement with this. I don't think anyone here is gonna. I don't expect anyone to argue this headline here. I think I don't think that anyone of a different background, nationality, sex should have different pay from a typical white British worker. I think if you do the same job as someone else, regardless of your colour of your skin or nationality or male, female, whatever, should have the same pay. And if you do a better job than the other person, you should get more pay. That's how it should work. This premise of people being treated indifferently simply because of their ethnic minority backgrounds in terms of pay, I think it's nonsense. It's stupid. I don't know why we have this issue. This whole rhetoric of them and us, and it's not. I don't see it as them and us. I see human beings just like me trying to live and make their way in life just like everybody else. Just like you guys in the chat, trying to make your ways in life like everybody else. So I don't have a problem with full equal pay rights for ethnic minorities. I really don't. Currently, women have stronger protections on pay than any other groups. Under the party's plans, a new Race Equality Act would enshrine the law for full right to equal pay for black, Asian and ethnic minority groups as well as disabled people. But the Ministers for Equality came back and said this would be a bonanza for dodgy activist lawyers. She said the proposed legislation would set people against each other and see millions wasted on pointless red tape. It is obvious already illegal to pay someone less because of their race, she added. Yeah, but we know that it's happening in this country, Kemi. You're saying that, but it's still happening in this country. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but is this not still happening in our country? There are still people in this country, or I'm saying specifically in England, obviously. I can't speak for the other nations, but there are people in this country who are being paid less simply because of their ethnic backgrounds, or some are even paid under the minimum wage, but they're not aware of it. So, what happens to the Equality Act, says David McGuinness? Exactly. Where did that go? Labour said any changes that it would make if they won the next general election would be phased in to give employers times to adjust. well, I appreciate the fact that they're going to give them time to adjust, but they shouldn't have to adjust. They should be adjusting it now. A proposal would address dual discrimination, allowing employees to bring a single claim if they feel they have been subject to, for example, both sexism and racism. Like, for me, it's like this should not be. If there is an issue already, which there is in this country, then there's a problem with that company. But yeah, as David McGuinness points out, where's the Equalities Act? Like, it feels like it's kind of it's infuriating. The principle that women and men are entitled to equal pay and equal work is set out in the 2010 Equality Act. Yeah, but I know I'm not stupid in saying that I know some women are getting paid less than men for the same job simply because of the fact that they're women, but they don't outright say it. Like, sometimes some people are actually some people aren't aware directly of it as well in some companies. The Act applies across Great Britain, but Northern Ireland has its own equalities legislation. Pay equalities on the grounds can still be challenged through a claim of direct discrimination. However, Labour said its plans, which would be subject to consultation, would mean equal pay claims on the basis of ethnicity or disability would be treated the same as those made by women. The party has already said the Labour government will require large employers to publish ethnicity and disability pay gap reports to reveal any disparities in wages between different groups. Companies with more than 250 employees in England, Wales and Scotland have been required to publish their gender pay gap statistics since 2017, but this is not mandatory for ethnicity or disability. The government previously said it does not want to impose new reporting burdens on businesses by making ethnicity pay reporting mandatory, but would support companies who wish to do so by providing guidance. Jacqueline McKeesey, an immigration and human rights lawyer who was part of a task force set up by Labour to help develop the new Race Equalities Act, said the party's proposals were a bold step. What we're not sure about, because we haven't seen the Act, is whether or not it would actually include enforcement penalties and mandatory reporting, she told BBC Radio 4 Today programme. Because if it doesn't do that, it's actually not going to make a difference. She's bang on the money here. If you don't enforce something like this, you're not changing nothing. You're talking, saying you're going to be making things better, but if you're not going to pursue people who are taking advantage, then what's the point of even this policy? I like that we want equality. I want equality. I'm all for it, and I know all of you guys here in the chat are all for it too. But if we don't enforce it, people are going to take advantage. Anthony C. Dale, Shadow Women and Equality Secretary, said inequality has soared under the Conservatives and too many blacks, Asians and ethnic minority families are working harder and harder for less and less. This is holding back the families and holding back the economy. Baroness Darwin Lawrence said, Labour's race relations advisor said the Act was a vital step towards tackling racial equality at source. Yeah. I mean, obviously we do want, like I said, like it's a good thing. It's great that Labour is saying this, but how is it going to be done? Is there going to be any enforcement on it? Those are the questions that really need to be asked here, because as Dave McGuinness rightly points out, what happened to the Equalities Act? It feels like that's kind of swept under the carpet sort of thing. It's not something that people even... I think it's even something people don't talk about, because we're talking about so many issues that are taking place right now. Mainstream media aren't really talking about the ethnicity pay gap. About the pay gaps that are taking place. They're really not. Good evening, Solari Cat. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good weekend as well. But yeah, it's frustrating, guys. Frustrating. Let's see what the poll's saying so far. 16 people have voted so far on the poll on who should be on a one-way ticket to Rwanda if it takes off and they can't come back. You can only pick one. 6% says Piers Morgan, 29% says Rishi Sunak, 18% think Boris Johnson, 47% says Suella Braverman. Braverman's dream of that flight to Rwanda, guys. She's going to get on that flight for you guys. If you vote for her, she will get her dream flight to Rwanda. Only problem is the Rwandans will not Rwandans, the immigrants that she wanted will not be on there with her. Alistair Keir, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. That's very kind of you. 5 members are Tories Don't Get Tasered, Satu Hiroshi, Stephen Banker, Pedulous, and Suzanne was given memberships. Very nice, guys. Welcome back to memberships. Alistair, that's very kind of you. Thank you so much, buddy. I really appreciate the support. I really do support. You've been ever since I've set up membership, mate. You have been extremely kind with your memberships to supporting me, and I really thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. I really do. Anyone who's a member, who's gifted memberships, supported memberships, and that I really means a lot to me. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All race the orb in all of Scotland as the kid. I need to get. You know what? I think I'm gonna have to get some kind of Scottish flag or something. You know, just for the Scottish. For my Scottish brothers and sisters here in the chat, because you guys have been absolutely awesome. But yeah, there is the orb in all its glory. You know what? I'll just for tonight, guys, because I'm feeling generous. Ollie's feeling a bit happy after that. So yeah, orb in all its glory. Yeah. So Mark Wilkie said he found these old lava lamp today. Fantastic! Awesome! Awesome! Glad you found your lava lamp. Post a picture on Discord if you're on our Discord, Mark. Yeah, we always like to see different orbs and that. So if you got an orb or a lava lamp, join our Discord and come join me in the after chat after the show, guys. Because I'll be hanging out in the chat after the show, guys. So feel free to come and hang out with me there when we finish the show. Just gonna see what else you guys have been saying in chat before that lovely gifted memberships from our good friend Alistair Keir. Everyone saying hello to Sir Larry the Cat, who is of course doing number 2s around number 10, which is all well and good here. Dave McGuinness reminding us all to hit the like button. Thank you, David, for that reminder. It's very important if you guys can do that. Surely things can't get any worse, can they? Mark says. I think things need to get worse before they get better, Mark, if I'm honest. And I think better days will come. But it's just a case of we just have to be patient. Better days will come. It will come, guys. We just need to be patient. It will come. It will come for Scotland when they finally have their second chance finally to have that independence referendum vote that they've been fighting for. There will be better days, guys. There will be better days. We just need to be. The Orb Syndicate says so. Chow says, don't read the reviews comment too late. I've already read it. We all support lad what you do. We in Scotland love your balanced views. Not bad for a young fella. Oh, thanks, David. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Yeah, appreciate it. Right, next one, guys. So this, we're gonna, I'm gonna turn things a bit sour here. We're gonna be a bit sad here, guys. And I think, while we talk about many losses of life, there's one people's lives that we don't often talk about, guys. And that is those who cross the channel to come to the UK. And I think this is really important to remind ourselves of this. This one from Open Democracy. And the headline is The Silent Serial Killer, 391 deaths in 25 years at the UK border. So 391 people have died at the France-Belgium-UK border between 1999 and 2004. Open Democracy and Le Journal investigate. We're going to be looking at some statistics in this one, guys. This one's going to go for quite a bit. But I think it's really important to remember that while of course any loss of life is tragic, we must remember that there are lots of people who have lost their lives getting in boats, making that terrible risk of crossing the channel to try and come to the UK, and some of them do not make it. And that also happens in case of when those coming from North Africa to try and get to mainland Europe as well, losing their lives when they have absolutely nothing. And we should remember that these are people. These are not just numbers. These are human beings. And some of them have relatives here in the UK. Some of them have absolutely nothing. Some of them running away from war, persecution, and and it's pretty tragic. So like I said, this is going to be a long one, this one. So on the 11th of January 1999, an Iraqi man was found dead at the port of Dover, England, hidden under a trailer of a lorry at axle level. He had just crossed the border from France when jolts off the lorry knocked him off balance. He fell to the ground and was immediately crushed by the wheels. The identity of this man is unknown, as is his personal history. His death would have gone unnoticed if nobody had found his body. He is not the only one to have lost his life on this journey. Between the 1st of January 1999 and January the 1st of 2024, 391 migrants died on the border between the UK, France and Belgium. These deaths were documented by French media outlets Le Journal in a study that is unprecedented and is exceptional. Name, age, gender, nationality, minority route, circumstances for death. For years, the journalists at Les Jaws searched for and compiled all possible information on the migrants who disappeared along the maritime border. Open Democracy can now publish the investigation in English so the UK can know what the French now know. The Calais Memorial found at the end of this piece lists the victims so that they are not forgotten. It counts the dead because those lives matter. There have been at least 391 deaths in 25 years. This is almost certainly an undercount, as it is unlikely that all disappear have been reported by journalists, activists or law enforcement. People died before 1999 as well, but the data isn't good enough to learn about them systematically. And people have not stopped dying since. 5 more drowned and 1 died in a lorry trailer this month after our investigation ended. 391 lives cut short on this coast, a quiet never-ending literally, as if a serial killer had been on the loose for a quarter of a century and neither the police nor the courts had noticed. The reality, though, is worse. Law and policy enforcement has been this killer's accomplice from the start. We'll read about... yeah, of course you can, Jao. Of course you can plug his channel. I didn't know he had his channel. But yeah, put it up there and I'll definitely check it out. Apologies, Mark. I didn't know you had a channel. Sorry. Yeah, you can do that. You have permission. We'll read on later on the series, but first, who are the victims? The vast majority of migrants who have died around Calais from the global south, particularly from the Africa, the Middle East and Asia, Sudanese, Iraqis, Vietnamese and Chinese account for almost a third of the victims. Most have left countries classified as authoritarian regimes according to the economics under the Intelligence Unit Democracy Index. The victims fled from Afghanistan, which hasn't seen much peace in over 40 years, from Iris Afghan autocrat rule in Eritrea, and from civil war in Darfur, Sudan. They depart Iran, Iraq and Turkey, where Kurdish minorities and dissidents have suffered state violence alongside economic and political hardship. And they run from the implosion of Yugoslavia, the American invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq, the war in Syria and the takeover by Kabul and the Taliban. All these events have left their traces thousands of kilometres away in Calais. So this here, guys, this is from the investigation from the Source and Open Democracy investigation. This is 391 migrant deaths. I don't think you guys can see the full picture. I'm just going to... Let me see if I can get a full... Give me 1 second. There you go. So I can get a full picture for you guys. So 391 migrant deaths at the English Channel by nationality. At least 2 migrants have died on the France-Belgian border at every year since 1999. So you have there the nationalities at the top, from dark to light: Afghanistan, Chinese, Egyptian, Eritrean, Ethiopian, Iranian, Iraqi, Pakistani, Sudanese, Syrian, Turkish, unknown other, and Vietnamese. So obviously we don't know how many more it could be, because it could be a lot more. And you can see from the numbers here, if I don't know how much you can see, but you can see from 2000 it jumped up pretty much under the time between 2000 and 2010. Apart from that time there in 2058, it's not been too bad up to 2010, and even up till about 2014 the numbers weren't too bad. But you can see From 2014 onwards, it has steadily increased. And here, 2019, it just Vietnamese there. Yeah, the numbers are, this is from 2022. This is what they've got statistically so far by those that have migrant deaths. Good evening, Casper Northerner. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us. The callous killer strikes men most of the time. However, 20% of Vietnamese victims have been women, as have 80% of I don't know why I can't say that word, guys. I apologise. Eritrean, 13% of Turkish, and 12% Iranian victims. Among them were Zahi al-Said and Jamareski Gunib, both from Eritrea, and both were killed by vehicles in 2015. And Miriam Megan, a 31-year-old woman from Iran who was drowned while crossing to England in August in 2019. She fell out of a boat carrying 19 other people. Often invisible, women are nevertheless numerous on the roads around Calais. So this next one here, I'm going to switch over again for you guys just so you can see it in clearly. This is women and children among the dead in the English Channel. While most victims were men, we found at least 7 out of 391 deaths on the France-Belgium-UK border between 1.199 and 1.124 were women and children. So the dark colour is women, the dark, not as dark, is children, and then you have the men, and then you have the unknown. So this is the percentage on women. I'll just point out on the left for the nations guide again, Turkish at the top, followed by Eritrean, Iranian, Vietnamese, Syrian, Iraqi, Afghanistan, Ethiopian, Egyptian, Sudanese, unknown, other, Pakistani, and at the bottom is Chinese, guys. So you have women there, the highest percentage. Obviously, we know these aren't going to be 100% accurate because obviously some lives have been lost and bodies have not been recovered, but these are probably about the closest we can get. They've reported the highest of women losses have been Syrian there, while the lowest appears to be unknown other or Iraqis at 8% there. For children, 50% are Turkish, the highest amount, with the lowest is unknown. 9% of children appear to be Ethiopian. Oh no, sorry, Vietnamese children there. And obviously, and here is in men. Obviously, men's going to be the highest percentage. Pakistani men 100%, and the lowest out of all the men there is Turkish at 38% there. And obviously the unknowns, we don't know the unknowns, but Chinese 100%, Sudanese 2.4%. So we don't, obviously the best that we can come with these statistics, guys. Most of the victims are so young. For those who believe they have a definitive age, for 251 of the 391 victims, the median age is 25 years old, but they did span from infants to people in their mid-50s. Over 40 children have died. Take, for example, Samoei Gura and her 2 sons, Mariam and Birkin, aged 9 and 4, as well as Huskin and his 2 children, Kaliska and Zenki, aged 15 and 10. They were all born in Turkish Kurdistan, along with 2 others. They were found dead in the container they had climbed onto a port in Zangenburg, Belgium, about 100 kilometers north of Calais in 2001. It was loaded onto a ship and they thought they was bound for England, but instead they set sail for Ireland. After 5 days inside, the container had become their tomb. I've heard of stories of people dying in those tombs and some people somehow surviving in them and having to the stench and that of the dead bodies, and it's the desperation of these people, because there's no and this is the thing, before I go any further, guys, this is the thing that really angers me. If we had legal routes, we could save so many lives. We could save so many innocent lives from these desperate people. So many lives could be saved if we had legal routes. But we just don't. We just don't. That's the worst part about all this. We could actually prevent this. Or take the 7 people who drowned off the coast of Lung Pang, a commute in the Norne region between Calais and Dunkirk in October 2020. They were trying to cross the North Sea in a boat. Among them was a family of from Iranian Kurdistan. Raouz Iran Neskol, 35, and Shimi Mohammed Pani, 32, and 3 other children, Intia, Amrin, and Anting, aged 9, 6, and 15 months. For years, some of the world's youths have been washed up dead on the Norle-le-Corne Palace coastline. This here, guys, this is ages at death. Most victims on the France-Belgian border die younger. Of the 251, we have definitive ages for 71% have died between age 16 and 30. So from left to right, 0 to 5, 7, between 0 to 5, 7, 6 to 10, 5, 11 to 15, 10, 16 to 20, 53, 70 people between 21 and 25. But age between 26 and 30, 55, 31 to 35 to 23. My age 36 to 40, 16, 41 to 45, 5, 46 to 54, 51 to 55. It's not even showing up. They're pretty low for those ages. The number change from year to year, but the callous killer does kill every year. In the first chart above, the death peaks correspond to cases of collective death. In June 2054, men and 4 women of Chinese nationality died of angst, especially in a truck coming out of Salisbury. Their bodies were discovered by customs officials in Dover. In October 2019, 39 people were found asphyxiated in a trailer container on an industrial estate in Grays, England. 8 women and 31 men were all from northeast Vietnam. On the 24th of November 2021, 31 lives were lost, among them 7 women, when a boat sank off the coast of Lung Pang. Most were from Iraqi Kurdistan. There have been others. Such instances of gruesome mass death often make the headlines. They may even receive some political attention, but they are like monuments with a large ceremony. Particularly noticeable, perhaps, but the bodies beneath them are no more dead than those around them. They have been hit by fragile freight shuttles or struck by high voltage cables on the Eurotunnel site. People run over by vehicles, crushed by goods inside a trailer, or crushed by the axis of a truck. People downed inside the Calais pool or just offshore, all equally dead even when they go unnoticed. The majority die while attempting to cross the border, unable to take a train or boat or ferry due to irregularities on European soil. Over 3/4 died from asphyxiation, drowning, or road accidents. Trains were involved in 6% of deaths, and homicides account for another 6%. Death through a lack of care, suicide, and other known cases account for 9%. So this one here, guys, this is causes of 391 deaths at the English Channel. Asphyxiating, drowning, and road accidents account for more than 75% of migrant deaths between the 1st of January 1999 and 1st of January 2024, according to an investigation. But this chart shows there are many other ways that they die. So 92%, 92 drowning. Obviously, these numbers aren't 100% accurate. Asphyxiating 109, 4 by suicide. I think whatever way they die. Yeah, train, Eurotunnel accident. You know, whenever you take that Eurostar and then there's delays, and then you find out that someone lost their life, it kind of makes you stop and wake up for a minute, because you don't realise how desperate these people are. So yeah. King Charles has cancer. Yes, he does. I do wish the King, in all seriousness, well, because I don't wish cancer and death upon anybody. Even if we don't like the monarch and everything, I will never wish death upon anyone. I hope he recovers, in all seriousness, and anyone who has any cancer, for that matter. Basically, 100% agreement with what Max said about the tweet. This one here is causes of migrant deaths at the English Channel by year. We found that 391 migrants died in the front border between. So this is obviously just another graph of in terms of years. It's the same thing, but it's just in terms of the years of when the deaths occurred and how they occurred by percentage-wise. Like I said, the link, like I've said before, guys, the links for all these are going to be in the description. So if you guys want to look at them yourself. I'm probably going to stop at this last little bit here, the legal truth. Lads across all these deaths are about out one. Laying all these deaths out one another reveals a harsh reality. Despite the increasing militarisation of the border, migrants haven't stopped trying to get to England. They have instead turned to riskier and more distant methods to try and adapt. They tried ferries, the Eurotunnel, lorries upstream of Calais, the ring roads leading to the port in Belgium. Today, many are attempting by sea. For nearly 3 decades, the city of Calais has bunkered down its fortified, including concrete barriers, barbed wires, video surveillance, police and Garleman patrols on horseback, motorcycles, all-terrain vehicles and drones, but the dead keep piling up. On the 10th of March 2023, London committed a further €541 million over 3 years to increase the inception rate and drastically reduce the number of crossings. This money was for 500 additional police officers and garments, new infrastructure and surveillance equipment, and the deployment of drones, helicopters and aircraft. Just think, guys, if we had legal rules, just think of what that money could do for us over here. €541 million, that's £476 million. Think of that money that could be here, be used here, and instead we're throwing it at this, guys. 2 months later, on the 10th of May, a migrant died after being hit by a lorry on the ring road leading to the port of Calais. Amir Yusuf Adam was 30 years old and originally from Sudan. His death left little trace in the media of political discourse. He was one of 24 who died in the last 9 months of the last year. Slaughter continues. I'm going to leave it at this last little graph we're going to look at. This is a memorial to the 391 deaths in Calais. Hover over to click on the dots to learn about the people behind their stories. So you can literally, it's going to show like Ray Maxim Towell, Omar Ashkin Teller, Anika Chal, 9 years old, 15 years old, 17-year-old Vietnamese, 26-year-old woman from Vietnamese. Yeah, so you can scroll over them and look at them if you want. So I'm going to leave this one there. I know that was a tough one to watch, guys, but I felt it was important to talk about. So if you guys have stuck with me throughout that article, thank you, because I know that was hard to that was a hard one to listen to, but I think it was important to remind us of those who are losing their lives literally every day, and knowing that we can end it. We can end it. The British government can end this by simply creating legal routes, and we choose not to. Essentially, the blood of all these people's lives are on the hands of the British government, both Conservative and Labour. There's no political factions in all of this. We know that it can be reduced significantly. Now, I'm not taking political sides on any of this at all. On that. Right, so I'm going to scroll up in the chat because I know you guys have talked about it a little bit. Make sure I don't miss any of your comments. I know you guys have been talking. We could also save the homeless on the street first. You know what, Deborah Hart, you're absolutely right about saving the homeless. And you know what, I've brought this up before. We got all the homeless off the streets when the pandemic hit. There wasn't any homeless on the streets when the pandemic hit. We can get them off the street tomorrow if we generally wanted. If the government really wanted to. If the government really wanted to sort out homelessness, they could get them off the streets. I've been homeless twice. I know what it feels like. When I got my break, I saved every money I earned. Now I'm mortgage free, but I will not get a pension like many that were sold off to BIS 2020. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Deborah. I can't imagine. I can never imagine what it's like to be homeless, to have absolutely nothing. I'm just hope, in all seriousness, that you're in a better place now. That's generally hand on heart. I really hope you're in a better place right now. I'm glad I am a Republican. We change our idiots every 5 years, says Joe. They all seem to have one thing in common. Weird, I noticed, as I don't recognise colour, says Ben Shaw. I do not. I reflect on life more homeless through my own family's second-time marriage and £250,000 house of business walked away from its so-called freedom, says Deborah. Republic would be nice, says Mark. Yeah, it would be. Not my king, but that news gave me a jolt when I read about it earlier. No one wants to go through the worries his family will be facing. Yeah, absolutely, Ruth. Like, we can disagree. We disagree with the king. We disagree with the monarch, but we shouldn't. We don't wish anything upon. We don't wish ill health upon anyone. I think that's a great way of putting it. People from Gaza could be refugees here soon. Shouldn't be happening in the first place. What's happening there? But you're right. Number 3, we will be getting some. Hard truths need to be said, says Jal. I know. 1 in 3 Palestinians before last. 1 in 3 refugees before last October was Palestinians. Imagine it now, says Ben Shaw. Our government is evil. End of. Listen, let me make something very clear here. Like what we just read. Like, don't let Labour off on this either. Don't let Labour off the hook on this either. Like when they come into power, we hold them as much to the fire as we have the Conservatives on this topic in particular. Just want to put that in. The save the homeless routing is such a straw man argument. I've been homeless, but I don't blame refugees for my plight. Nobody cares about the homeless until it suits their agenda. Exactly. It's always about politics, political agenda. If it becomes a massive, like if they did a drama on the homelessness in this country, then all of a sudden politicians will stand up and take account. Take the post office scandal, the Horizon scandal. None of them gave a damn. None of them gave a damn until it blew up on the drama series. Absolutely right. They don't care until it becomes a really big problem for them. Yeah, when their political careers and their reputations, when they get damaged, that's when they've got to stand up and take account for it. Yeah, I know. It's frustrating. Catty come home. It's just a Larry cat. Yeah. I'll let Dave McGuinness do the swearing for us. But I'll try and hold my judgment. Right, so before I just go to the next article, guys, if you can hit the like button, we greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media, hit the bell notification icon so you'll be notified when I upload another video. If you're not getting notifications, guys, turn off your notifications and turn them back on my channel. Do the same for other YouTube channels that you're subscribed to if you're not getting bell notifications for them as well. That's because it's a YouTube issue. It's not something that we, the YouTubers, can do anything about. They are aware of the issue because it's been highlighted to them, and their response is, we're working on it. So just in case people are wondering why sometimes your notifications aren't always working. So just wanted to put that caveat in there, guys. And yes, of course, if you can't financially support me, guys, it's fine. It's totally cool because I know I've applied for quite a lot of jobs today, and I'm kind of hoping to get some responses from them soon. If you can't financially support me, just do all those other things that I've just mentioned, guys. So again, it's totally cool if you can't financially support me. Liking, sharing, commenting here in on my videos, all that stuff is what helps the channel, guys. That helps me more financially because I want to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark, guys. I really do, because if I do, then I can potentially make money. I can make money off ad revenue without always you guys. I don't want you guys putting your hands in your pockets unless you absolutely want to. Only do it as a necessity. In all seriousness, guys. So speaking of bonkers, I'm going to go bonkers here, and I want to thank David McGuinness for highlighting this story on the Two Davies show earlier, guys. If you didn't see, if you didn't hear this story, I'm not really going to read into it, but I just want to highlight this the headline really, because I generally could not stop laughing when I saw this. Scottish civil servants accused of going native in support of the SNP. Let me put it. Have I got? I haven't got a different screen to show you. But yeah, apparently they're going native. Help me out here, guys. What is this supposed to mean? Can someone explain? What is this supposed to mean? What? Scotland's most senior Mandalorian has been urged to launch an investigation into his civil servants going native in support of the SNP in the wake of the alarming evidence presented to the UK COVID inquiry. The Tories wrote to John Paul Musk, the Scottish Government Permanent Secretary, highlighting the naked political behaviour of supposed impartial civil servants. They expressed particular concern at an email sent by Scott Will Weitzman, Director of External Affairs, in July 2020, warning that SNP ministers against imposing COVID travel restrictions on Spain. In the message sent to Nicola Sturgeon and other Scottish cabinet ministers, they wrote, "They won't forget there's a real possibility they were never approved EU membership from an independent Scotland as a result." Oh, get out. Concerns have been expressed about the conduct of Professor Jason Leach, Scotland's National Clinical Director, after the inquiry was shown WhatsApp messages in which he attacked opposition MSPs. I'm not going to go any further on this because I just swear I'm going to walk into a minefield here. All I'm going to say is it's dumb and it's stupid. It's just absolutely stupid. I know, guys, it's so dumb. The link is in the description if you guys want to read it. I'll put the link in the description if you guys want to read it because it is absolutely ridiculous of a joke. Let me just end the poll because I forgot to end the poll because we're at the end of the show. We've got one more funny video. Don't run away just yet, guys. We've got one more funny video. So the poll has resulted in 19 people cast their votes. Who should be on a one-way ticket for Rwanda if it takes off? 47% said Suella Braverman, 26% said Rishi Sunak, 21% said Boris Johnson, 5% think it's Piers Morgan. So congratulations, Suella Braverman. You got your one-way ticket, your dream ticket to Rwanda. Thanks to those in the chat, guys. Give yourselves a pat on the back, a round of applause. Her dream is finally coming to fruition, guys. We did it. We gave her the dream. The dream of going to Rwanda has come to fruition for her. Yeah, should be very proud. Should be very happy for you guys. Really, really, really happy about that. Yeah, let me just see what you guys are saying in the comments. Native, going native. Were they streaking? Says Salodica. Were they dancing around a fire in loincloths? Native Scottish civil servant gone rogue. It's so stupid. Are the Scots going back to blue paint and naked fighting, or is it just football night? I go native sometimes and sing Pads of Lie to scare the neighbours, says Jow. The Scottish civil servant are employed by the UK government to act against Scotland. Brackets, I think, says Ruth. Yeah, football night, says Alistair. We have an equality commission in Northern Ireland, so I never knew that happened in GB, says Casper. Braverman got to the plane. She got to the plane. Yes, she got to the plane. We haven't heard anything from that nutter in Portsmouth. Oh, well, it'd be funny you said that. We're going to hear from some nutter in Portsmouth in a moment. Yeah, so, guys, just before I hit the funny video, guys, just want to say a massive thank you, guys. It's been a one of the longest streams we've done for Snowflake's Viewpoint. But just before you guys go, just want to remind you guys, if you guys want to come and hang out with me on the Discord, let me just put the link. Have I still got the link in? Boop. Just want to put that in there for you guys before you guys head out. If you guys want to come and join me in the chat after, you're more than welcome to do so. I'm going to be hanging out in the chat, so if you guys want to talk about anything, we can talk about news, talk about politics. We can talk about this Scottish civil servant going native. If you guys want to do that, yeah, feel free to come and hang out with me in the Discord chat after the show, guys. I want to talk about anything you like there. So I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's come along. Thanks for all your comments. Thank you again, Alistair Keir, for the memberships. That's extremely kind of you as well. Whether you've liked, shared, all that stuff, guys, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. I will see you guys tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock. I think I've got it for the World News Round that will be dropping, so you guys can hang out with me there in the premiere before we hang out, and obviously see Max with his live stream there. I'll be back live this Wednesday as well at 8 o'clock with the Snowflake Watch. We'll be watching clips together, seeing what on earth has been going on, and there's plenty of them going around as well, so definitely come and hang out with me then. So plenty of stuff to come along here on the channel, guys. But before you go, we have one more video, guys. So before we see ourselves out, some guy from Portsmouth wants to talk about apparently is that the right video? It is. Apparently the Daily Mail have turned Boris Johnson into a Poundland. Adrian Chiles? Why does that name Adrian Chiles sound familiar, guys?
Colin is in Portsmouth. Hello, Colin.
I am outraged, Anthony, absolutely coronary about how they've treated Boris.
How have they treated Boris? I haven't heard about him for a while, actually,
don't
Colin.
pretend you don't know.
Right.
1 minute he was leader of the free world, and
Well,
now he's reduced to writing a pointless column in the Daily Mail.
I've seen
how
those.
Rugby tackled Japanese kids and all of that.
Yeah.
It's a trajectory as tragic as those Shakespeare characters he still hasn't written a book about.
But whose fault is that, Colin? He's made his bed. He should lie in it.
Don't be naive.
Right.
It's the shadowy world elite.
Of course it is.
Von der Leyen and her love of Bill Gates, all of them.
Yeah,
They didn't like that he'd got Brexit done, so they planted booze at his lockdown parties and turned him into a Poundland Adrian Chiles.
Hey, I always thought Adrian Chiles could be a good Prime Minister, actually, Colin.
Winston Churchill.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe. Look, the Daily Mail, you are nothing but traitors. You've been paid off by the Remain cabal to swap Boris's sword of truth and replace it with a child's crayon with which he's forced to write substanceless drivel to a tight deadline. And this nation will never forget that. Anyway, mate, thanks for having me on. Love to the family.
Love to the family, Colin. Love to the family. He should have taken that GB News gig, shouldn't he?
What, let other people get to know him more? That's
Wow.
going great for Lee Anderson. Anyway, mate, I'm off. I'm going to read all about sexy cosplay with Nadine Dorris.
Is that one of his columns?
What column?
So guys, thanks for watching. Take care. If you're not coming in the Discord chat, have a great evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. Hopefully it all go swimmingly, and I will hope to catch you all very, very soon.
Thank you.